I scored 94% of the total vote cast. Across the 77 wards, I won all the wards in the South. If you have been so generous to me, why can't I give you my all? Even my local government, I didn't get that. I got 86.
All right, a very good evening to you. It's Late Night Talk. We're back tonight to discuss something of importance to each and every one of you out there, Nigerians listening to us. My name is Kofi Bartels. You may have already had the story flying around the internet, flying around stations, media houses, and on social media. The fact that a newly married soldier was killed by his colleague. A newly married soldier was killed by his colleague, same Nigerian army. And we're asking what is happening to the Nigerian army. What is happening to the Nigerian army? Also, the video you watched before I came on tonight was a recording of the attack, on the convoy of the Borno State governor Governor Zulum, and that happened in Borno State. The Nigerian military have come out to say that the Nigerian army that they will chase down the Boko Haram terrorists who are responsible for this. But Governor Zulum has had his own words, some things to say, which I would like to probably go back to along the line. But the governor is furious. That is the way it can be described as. The governor is really furious and he has blasted the Nigerian army. I have a guest on the program today. He is a security analyst, a security expert as well. I'd like to say a very good evening to Mr. Efe Wanogo. Efe, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Kofi. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay. As far as you're concerned, is everything all right in the Nigerian army in the whole fight against Boko Haram?
Well, I wouldn't say that. You see, I think everything is far from being all right with the entirety of our security apparatus, of which the Nigerian army is a principal part.
Okay.
Particularly as the Boko Haram fight, the entirety of the war against terrorism has been long drawn. You know, it has been there since the days of President Yar'Adua, and then Jonathan. President Buhari has come, and it is still there. So you can
you've put it down to you've narrowed it down to number one, mental issues in the Nigerian army. You talked about PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. You've also said that this possible post traumatic stress disorder could be caused by the long duty tour. They've been there for a long time and they've had to, kill a lot of terrorists and be faced with death, life or death situations, etc., etc. And then you've also said, number two, the working and service conditions, that the soldiers may have, they have poor service conditions and poor working conditions, poor motivation, poor remuneration, lack of logistics with which to prosecute this war against terrorism and war against Boko Haram, and that's why. Now, how does this tie in the poor working conditions to killing your colleague? Because I do agree with you with number one. There are several headlines, a number of headlines that I shared with you earlier, where they said the soldier who killed 4 soldiers, I think this year, killed 4 soldiers and then killed himself. Shot 4 soldiers and killed himself. The poor motivation. Tell us how that affects influences the ability of a soldier to kill his fellow soldier. Does it still tie into the psychological issues, the mental issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. Managing men in the war front, men who have weapons, with which they can terminate life, with which they can cause the death of person on the snap of a finger. Yeah. It's a very tedious arrangement, and if you are not very trained in that, if you do not put in the necessary requirements to ensure that these men are at their best at this point in time, then they themselves could be seen to be the Frankenstein monster. They could become the enemy within.
Okay.
So everybody who has weapons to fight for this country in any of the security agencies, they must have a minimum standard of care. They must have that, mentally and otherwise, with regards to their pay and the conditions of service. Now, if they are supposed to get X as allowances, don't give them less than X as allowances.
Okay.
If their salaries have to be paid at a particular time of every month, you have to ensure that it is paid. And for those who have been exposed to battle and they have fallen in the field of battle, what has happened to their dependents? What has happened to their widows?
Okay.
We've had cases over and over again where the widows of Nigerian military officers cry out that they've not heard from the military with regards to what has happened to their spouses. Mm-hmm. Their spouses have died. In some cases, they've gone missing for years on end. They've not heard from them. They have no communication. So when somebody is at the battlefront and he sees his colleagues having been failed, by have the weapons, what about their motivation? Motivation is key. So if the person is just there because he took the job because that's what's available, and is not passionate about fighting for the military, then you have -1. In fact, you will have a problem on your hands. So I think everything ties into. Okay, go ahead, please.
So these killings, the PTSD, the psychological issues, the mental, issues that soldiers are facing, is it being caused by the trauma of, killing Boko Haram terrorists, being faced with death, staring death in the face, seeing your colleagues being killed? Or do we also have a drug side to it as well? Drugs.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of factors. You cannot rule out the influence of hard drugs on this. I would say that I'm aware that there have been reports of exposure to all manner of hard drugs to get these guys' minds numb. Some of them, of course, without the knowledge of the military, you cannot say for sure how they access these drugs. And because they have been out there for a while, they take all manner of psychotropic substances to numb their senses. Of course, this is not a trait that is peculiar to everybody. You have very sane persons in the military, but you have deviants. Just like you have deviants in every field, in every profession, in every sphere. For some people to be able to maintain a degree of composure, an outward degree of composure, some of them are on drugs. That's why I said that agencies like the military, you need all manner of professionals to work with them, to work with the fighting force, to be sure that they are at the point where they should give you their best. So the place of hard drugs in motivation of manpower and proper delivery in military service and security agencies generally, it's a key area that has to be delved into fully. It's an area of research which I'm sure will be aggressively ongoing, and an area which I think every military worthy of its name should deploy the requisite resources, to address, so that you are sure that you have men who are on the ground, who are 100% competent to be on the ground, and what access do they have to such drugs? Is it possible? And what's your role in weeding out the bad eggs that you have in your system, and also weaning them away from dependency on such drugs where you have such cases happening? If you don't handle this in a multifaceted manner, you will be contending with internal issues, and you will be prevented from giving your best in fighting a common enemy.
Okay. All right. For those who are just joining us online, I want to say thank you very much for your time. We're looking at this unfortunate incident and unfortunate phenomenon of a Nigerian soldier killing another Nigerian soldier. What exactly is going on in the Nigerian army? Why do we have soldier-on-soldier violence? My colleague, one of a fellow journalists with Nigeria Info, in Lagos, was having a program, and where a soldier called in, it was trended. Even Nnamdi Kanu used it as a propaganda on Twitter. I saw Nnamdi Kanu sharing it on his handle, and I said, wow. Where a soldier called in to the program and said that, a fellow soldier tried to kill him, But my guest today is a security analyst and expert, Mr. Efe Wanugo, and he's pointed at, mental issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is, when you go through a traumatic experience, after the traumatic experience, post the trauma, you have a disorder. That's why it's called post-traumatic stress disorder. So even in the American army, we hear these things, where, those who went to Iraq, maybe Gulf War I, Gulf War II, those who went to Afghanistan, they get back and then they're having all sorts of hallucinations. They're seeing things at night. They become violent, etc., etc. And you've also talked about poor working conditions as well. I think you remember the story from this was this was earlier this year. This was February, I believe, February 2020, where a story broke that a Nigerian soldier serving at Army Super Camp 15, located at Malam Fatori in Borno State, killed 4 of his colleagues. And what they said that was responsible for him killing 4 of his colleagues was, I think it was described as mental fatigue, or what I call it again, Depression, yeah. That was the word I remember from that time. Depression. But the peculiar thing about this particular case, if it was that particular soldier, after killing 4 soldiers, turned the gun on himself and killed himself. That particular soldier, after killing 4 fellow soldiers in the Nigerian army, turned the gun on himself and shot himself. And acting director of Army Public Relations at the time revealed all this. Revealed all this. But in this particular situation, the soldier in question who killed this newly married soldier did not kill himself. So isn't there a difference as far as this particular case is concerned? As far as this particular case, is concerned, Lieutenant Ngogi is his name, was not killed by somebody who killed himself. So how can we say for sure that the person had a trauma or was depressed or had mental issues?
Well, Kofi, you cannot say for sure that everybody who gets into the military is fit to be in the military.
Okay.
You see, we've heard all kinds of stories, but we don't have a conclusive investigation yet. Although reports I've read as well on this matter is that after shooting at the guy, the soldier who is the suspect now was reported to have stated that yes, he has done what he wanted to do.
Sorry, which one? Which is that? This particular story?
The one who killed, the one who killed the soldier, his colleague, and did not turn the weapon on himself.
Okay, the one that killed his colleague and now killed himself.
No, and did not kill himself.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, indeed. He said he has achieved his aim.
Exactly, and I understand from other reports, which are not very confirmed yet, that he also that the story was that he was denied time off, and he was denied some requests which he made, and to that extent he did what he did. We must not forget that members of the military are also human beings, like every other human being in the society that we live. We find them in different spheres of human existence.
Okay.
And people have pleaded temporary insanity before. People have pleaded temporary lunacy and what have you. Now, the reason that not everybody who kills some other person in the military, in the police, as we've seen before, will turn the weapon on himself. Some people have done that. We've heard also of drivers who, when policemen get into their vehicles or road safety, they have been found to drive into a lagoon, or go head on with other vehicles, and if I'm going to let everybody die, we can't take this anymore. Such things have happened before. So I'm not sure we can explain fully why some actually kill themselves and why some don't. But in this particular case, I think that further investigation would reveal entirely what was the principal motivation. It could be simple vendetta. Somebody who wasn't happy that his superior officer did not grant his wishes, which speaks volumes of the psychological maturity of the soldier concerned, because you are not obliged to get every request that you require. You are a soldier. You have been trained to fight.
Okay.
So, but if there is some other sinister motive behind this, it is not in the public domain. So whether or not there is some ploy behind the taking out of this particular soldier that has been killed, the officer, we do not know. Whether it is just this person who is doing it because he felt that he has not been granted some of his requests, we do not know. And whether there is actually a mental stress, on this individual that has fired this person, we do not know. So we will need a proper and detailed investigation from the military to be able to unearth things. And unfortunately, these things are not usually in the public domain as much as we would like.
Yes. Okay, so Efe, this soldier now saying that he has accomplished his aim. You said you heard, of course, that the soldier maybe denied him his day off, or he was denied his day off, and then he decided to kill this particular soldier. A particular soldier called a Nigerian for, there was no way of verifying if he was indeed a soldier, but he said that the guy behind him in the trenches, or beside him in the trenches, shot at him because he said in his words that he was killing Boko Haram too much. Some Nigerians are also asking questions. Is everybody in the army really fighting, or they're in the interest of Nigeria? Do we have some moles or people who have other interests other than protecting and defending the territorial integrity of Nigeria in the army. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on this?
Kofi, this issue has been a very contentious issue for a very long period, even in the period when President Jonathan was still in office. We've heard all kinds of reports as to how people have been fighting against the military from within.
Yes.
And they recall that even the military has revealed cases where some soldiers were found with having so much money in their bank accounts, and they may have sold out to the terrorists and other people who are against the military. And we've also heard reports where villagers have reported that choppers, helicopters, have been found dropping weapons and supplies for terrorists and for the Boko Haram people and what have you. So we cannot say definitively that we have a military that is fighting in one accord.
Can you repeat yourself? You said we can't say for sure that we have a military that is. Can you just say the whole thing again?
That is fighting in one accord.
Really?
That has a unity of purpose. Yes, but my hope, of course, is that the military hierarchy would always find a way to weed out the bad eggs that they may have in the system. Every security agency that we know has bad eggs, but it is the degree of the preponderance or otherwise of these bad eggs that determines whether the military is untainted or not. In some cases, you find that you have more persons whose loyalties are questionable. If you are in the theater of war and your loyalty to the cause for which you are fighting is questionable, and you have loyalty to some interests outside of the military and the Nigerian state, then there is a problem. But we cannot tell for sure whether that is the case now, because we've heard all manner of reports. Yeah. The gentleman who stated how he was shot at by his colleagues, he could be saying the truth. It may not be truthful. Now, but the problem is this: what if what he was said was correct? What if there were colleagues who actually wanted to take him out because they had some sympathy, for the cause of the jihadists, of the Boko Haram terrorists? So we have a problem, and I think the military authority, they don't have a very enviable job with their hands at this time. And I think that just like you have internal affairs in the American policing system and elsewhere, they must have a self-monitoring, self-policing, and self-cleansing mechanism to be able to be sure, that everybody who is in the military has unity of purpose. So you don't go and employ and recruit, conscript people whose allegiances are outside of the army. Actually against the army. That's the worst you can do. You can see that just as an aside now, the issue of reintegrating Boko Haram terrorists back to the civilian populace and in some cases the military. Even Alion Dume, that has been accused previously to be a prime sponsor of Boko Haram, is even now fighting to stand against this. So we have to be very careful so that we don't send the wrong signals in our recruitment processes. Because when you get people who themselves are not loyal to your cause to fight with you, you are finished. Just like in a football field, you have a team of 11 players and you have 3 or 4 of them who want your team to lose. How are you going to win that match? So that's what we have on our hands. So it is not a very easy task. I think the presidency must be very much interested in this because the buck stops at the table of Mr. President and the service chiefs. And by the way, are we where we are or where we should be regarding the kinds of military that we have, that we should get as a country at this time? I don't think we are there. We need something much better. You can see that there's a clamor in the public space that the service chiefs should go. They've overstayed their welcome. Yeah. I personally think that they've been there more than they should be. Because you also have, in the officer cadre, others who should have risen to the position of chief of staff, chief of service, in the different services. Now, when you keep them in limbo, and you refuse to take out those who should have been due for retirement by virtue of getting 60 years of age or 35 years in service, what happens to the loyalty? What happens to the morale of those who feel like their time should have been there? Because there is a natural succession process. We appreciate the fact that you've appointed some junior people sometimes and you retire the others, but everybody who is in service as an officer hopes that he gets to the highest point that his career can take it. So he will not be very happy, of course, that you have somebody who should have been retired, and he's still there. So you have all kinds of things. There are many areas that you can say as motive for people to be unhappy, to be disgruntled with the system. There are many cells, if you drill down extensively. And to that extent, the work to be done in the military is Herculean, it's huge. I don't know to what extent we are tackling that, but the military must police itself. The Latin maxim is quis custodes ipsos custodes, who regard the guards themselves. Who is going to police the military from within to be sure that everybody in the military is not working as cross purposes with the military and with the Nigerian national interest.
Okay. All right, Ife, we'll come back to this particular point, but thank you very much. Let's actually welcome those who are watching us online right now. If you're watching online, very good evening to you. And thank you very much for your time. My name is Kofi Bartels, and this is Late Night Talk. We're going to be changing the name of the program because we're tweaking some things a little bit. But my guest tonight is security analyst and expert, Mr. Ife Awanogo, and he is, has been giving us some expert opinion and expert analysis as far as the issue of Nigerian soldiers killing their colleagues is concerned. We're asking what's going on in the Nigerian army. Newly married military officer Lieutenant Babakaka Shehu Ngogi of the 202 Battalion has been discovered to be have been actually killed by a fellow soldier in Bama, Borno State. It was earlier reported that he was killed by Boko Haram insurgents, but Sahara reported says that further checks have now revealed that Ngogi was talking to his wife when one of his colleagues shot him from the back 6 times. And we're asking what's going on in the Nigerian army. If you're watching this, please kindly share this post. You can share it to your friends who see it on Facebook. Please share the post. Share. Hit the share button and share it on your page so that your friends can also follow our conversation as well. If you are watching on Twitter, please retweet this post so your followers can also see and be part of this conversation as well. If you're watching on YouTube, please share the post on your social media platforms so that your friends can be a part of this conversation as well. But also, drop a comment. If you're, no matter where you're watching on, please drop a comment right now and tell me what you think about what is going on. I'd like to say good evening to those who have already dropped comments here, of which we will read right now. So let's head on straight to the comments online. I can see one here sent in by Ike Chuku Okere, who said, man, I'm speechless, Kofi. He's in Eneka. Thank you very much, Ike Chuku, for your comment. Sincerely appreciate it. We have another one here from Ego Akpabio. Ego Akpabio says, it is a sign of frustration. All manner of human beings have been recruited into the Nigerian military, and there is internal hatred and silent war amongst them. Internal hatred and silent war. Ife, do you understand and agree? Internal hatred and silent war. Does that resonate with you?
Well, what we have is opinions. Facts opinions are free. Everybody is free to advance whatever he thinks could be responsible for what we have. Yes, I wouldn't discountenance the possibility of having this so-called silent war or hatred or other issues on the tear the military apart and they pitch person against person or segments of the military against other segments. I wouldn't discountenance that entirely, but I cannot say the military is supposed to be one of the most compact organizations that we have in the country with regards to unity of purpose, with regards to working in unison. It's a place where you should not have any inclination whatsoever to religious proclivities and inclinations, But we cannot say what we have, because over time, we've had persons say, in the informal environment, about their experiences in the military, how people we think are not working for the sole interest of the nation have been in the military, have been on the service. And when that is the case, yes, there could be hatred. Hatred is common with humanity, Kofi. That's the truth. But to what extent do we find this in the military? Is this something that is deep-rooted? We have many cases of such happening. Like you stated, we've had a case where people turn the weapons on their colleagues and upon themselves. This is new with the military. We've seen more of this with the police, and incidentally, it's tied to other pecuniary issues, maybe they're sharing money, somebody is not happy with his superior. It does happen. It boils back to mental health issues, But whether it is an issue of hatred, I cannot say for sure. We can only speculate, until we have a disinterested, in manner of speaking, investigation that drills down and determines to what extent we have full motivation and cooperation and unity of purpose by everybody who is in the service. We don't have that at this time. That is not to say that the military authorities are not doing the needful. We cannot say what they are doing. But whatever they are doing should, there should be some urgency in it, so that you have the degree of motivation you require every officer and man to have, so that when they are in the theater of war, such things will not happen. If they must happen, they should be very, very rarely occurring. And then we can say that we have a military that is moving forward. But there are other issues you must tackle as well if you want to have us to be in a common front, with regard to this issue of prosecuting the war against terrorism. Once you tackle those issues pertaining to having fresh blood in the service, equipping the military, are they properly funded? There are other issues that also tear down the productivity of the military, and they are still begging for attention. And until we tackle those issues heavily and hugely, we will keep on having such speculations here and there. And nobody expects that over 5 years into the new administration of President Buhari, and we still have Boko Haram kicking the way they are kicking now. And some people believe that it's now a franchise. Sometimes they are called bandits, sometimes they are called headsmen, and sometimes they are Boko Haram people. So do we really know what we are up against?
Okay. I'd like us to listen to the experience, what the governor of Borno State, Governor Zulum, went through, and then we'll come back and we will take your thoughts on it. I'm just going to, connect you so you can also hear as well. And I want those of you who are watching right now to watch this. I played it before we started the conversation, so I want to just go back there, maybe for like 5-6 minutes, so we can hear what the man said, and then we'll come back. And then we'll take final closing shots from If You Want to Go. It's still Late Night Talk. My name is Kofi Tells. If you please stand by for this one.
Wait.
Baga no be Baga road.
La ilaha illallah. Ido da. La hawla wala quwwata.
Ka bar me gidan ba za mu bi ba.
Ka bari mu doya bana tukuna. La ilaha illallah. Ido da. La hawla wala quwwata.
Ka bar me gidan ba za mu bi ba.
Ka bari mu doya bana tukuna. La ilaha illallah. Ido da. La hawla wala quwwata.
Ka bar me gidan ba za mu bi ba.
Ka bari mu doya bana tukuna.
If the governor is I was trying to get the point to the part of that clip where the governor of Borno State expressed total disappointment. He was fuming and he was furious. He after that attack, he had to go on and confront the commanding officer in Mile 4, there in Borno State, mincing no words in expressing his disappointment at the inability of the military to read Baga and environments of insurgents. And he said, and I quote, "You've been here for over 1 year now. There are 1,181 soldiers here. If you cannot take over Baga," which is Baga, we've been hearing about Baga for some years, my brother, which is less than 5 kilometers from your base, then we should forget about Baga. I'll inform the Chief of Army Staff to redeploy the men to other places where they can be useful. And he said, "You people said there is no Boko Haram here. Then who attacked us?" And I in the video where I was trying to get to was where he said that he doesn't believe it's Boko Haram that attacked them. So what's your take on that, Efe?
Well, Kofi, Governor Zulum is one man that we have followed very closely, and you recall that this is not the first time he's having a heated exchange with the military field commanders. He has had the previous ones a few months ago,
yes,
where he frontally confronted the military.
not a problem at all.
The shooting that has happened this afternoon is between the Nigerian military, maybe, and our police and
No. We did the clearance, me and the sector commander. No. We saw where they were, and there's no Boko Haram inside Baga town.
We remain grateful to all of you.
I mean,
the commitment is not there.
There's no Boko Haram inside the town.
We have a total number of about 1,181 soldiers in Baga. So I think the problem is in the command and control structures that has to be looked into. And then I cannot end of my interview without clearly stating what has happened yesterday. As far as I'm concerned, there's no Boko Haram inside the town yesterday. That was a very serious shootings by the Nigerian armed forces who are residing in Baga. That also compares. And the situation is very embarrassing. So I think we shall give them some sufficient time, because Baga is very important. The shores of the Lake Chad provides employment opportunities to not fewer than 10 million people who are residing in the northeast, while some are even coming from the far northwest. So I see no reason why they should be left there if they cannot occupy Baga town, which is very important. We shall give them some sufficient time. If it is not possible, I think we shall organize the population, the community, to take destiny into their own hands so that we can go and occupy.
If you had the governor himself there say, that they, as far as it's concerned, this is the day after. There is no Boko Haram. There was no Boko Haram in Baga when he went there and when he was leaving Baga.
Yeah, I heard the governor. I think he basically has called to question the operational competence of the team there. He talked about the command and control issues, which he believes were bedeviling the military. Clearly he has laid the blame on the feet of the military, in that particular area of operation, and for very good reasons as well. It's unfortunate, and you can see the Kofi. Part of what we've said severally with you and other fora with regards to this is national security. This is outside the purview of state governors, right? But you can see that one of the most vocal people on this is the governor of Borno State, because he's directly impacted. But what is the response of the central government? National security is on the exclusive list. So this annoyance that we see, this anger, this passion we see on the part of the governor, we should see the Minister of Defense, the President, and the National Security Advisor display more of this. Be on the ground and hold the feet of these people to the fire of accountability. The military there are not obliged to vote for the government. But realistic, they are not. So until those people who give them orders call them to account, my friend, what is going on here? This is supposed to be your operational plan and your operational protocols. Why did we have this happen? Why you have this kind of influence and coverage? Until such questions are asked by professionals who know what it is, to deliver on responsibility, we will not have results. So my take is the persons who should respond to the demands for security should step up and respond. They are not responding. They are calm. It appears like it is everything goes. We no longer care. The lives no longer mean much. to us, what is the worth of the Nigerian life right now? We hear about Southern Kaduna. We hear about Katsina, the president's home state.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There is Borno. There is Kogi the other day. And it keeps on going on and on. There was Benue just a short while ago as well. How long will this go on? So my take is that more persons should call the government to step up and do the needful. The government, of course, will not go to the theater of war by itself, but to ensure that you have square pegs and square holes.
Okay, so if it wasn't the Boko Haram who attacked Governor Zulum, who did they attack him?
Can you come back with that? It's not very clear.
If it wasn't Boko Haram who attacked the governor of Borno State, then who attacked him in Baga?
Well, you never can tell, Kofi. I don't want to speculate here, but it could very well be anybody. You was about Boko Haram. Some people even believe, some people, and for very good reasons. The whole Boko Haram concept is a faceless organization, right? It's a faceless group. That some people actually do things and they use the franchise of Boko Haram to perpetrate it. So it could be anybody. It could be some common criminals. It could be some people who want to ensure that the governor does not move as freely as he should any longer. And they think that maybe he's poking his nose too much certain areas. So the thing is, it could be anybody. And what is Boko Haram really? Where are they? We heard before now that it was somewhere around the Sambisa forest, and we also heard that the Sambisa forest has been overrun. So where does Boko Haram operate from? Our borders still that porous from which anybody can come in and go out. And if they can come in whenever they like, where do they reside? Which other country? Are they carrying out the same amount of damage in that country as well, and we're not hearing about it? So, Kofi, your guess is as good as mine on who those attackers could be. Absolutely, because for me, I think that we need more urgency on the part of the government, we need more sincerity, and then we'll be able to know where we are on this. This cannot be intractable, we cannot go on indefinitely. It cannot, it should not.
Okay, if I want to thank you very much for your time because we've kept you for quite a long time. But please permit me, before we go, I just want to read a few comments. Maybe you might want to chip in on one or two before we say goodnight to you. So I'll go from, I think the last one we read to Comrade Jesse Akaigo, who says, good evening, Kofi Bartels. As for me, it's very sad news that a soldier will kill his fellow soldier. And I'm just going to put a picture up so that you can see. This is this is what we're talking about right here. Okay, while waiting for that to come here. So this is the attacker, the one who is accused of killing the other soldier. But anyway, let me get back to that comment. Comrade Jesse Akaigo says it's very sad news that a soldier will kill his fellow soldier. Well, maybe this may so rest in peace. My condolences to the family. Egbose says the frustration, low morale among the soldiers is very high. Mental health of our soldiers calls for serious concern. Even the Chief of Army Staff needs to subject his aides to proper mental health evaluation and possible treatment, not until he's attacked as well. Unfortunately, mental health awareness is still very low in Nigeria and is taken for granted. Thank you. Very important and very nice message there. Jonathan Hart, all the way from Body Island. Good evening to you. You can see the picture of the man and his new wife, newly wedded, soldier, handsome, wonderful family, and it's really sad. Who was smart? Brandley says that's where Nigeria is right now. He's in Ogbogoro town. Thank you very much. Ada Barbari Manke says it's quite sad that we are in a country living in self-denial. Nigeria is a fraud, he says. He calls it a failed state. He says we're not in a democracy, but in a caliphate. Okay, what we are seeing is clear manifestation of a failed state. Still, we can't continue like this for long. Efe, do you agree it's this killing of a soldier and even the attack on Governor Zulum, who says it's not Boko Haram? It's indicative of a failed Nigerian state.
Well, I wouldn't say it's indicative of a failed state, but I could say there are indications or there are bad pangs of a failing state. If we continue down the line of what we have, of course, the chances are more that we are going to fail. There are indications that have been said severally by all kinds of professionals that we cannot continue having the same problems that we have, tearing at the unity of the country, tearing at the fabric of the country, and we expect to have a successful society, a successful state. So yes, there are indications of a failing state, but it's not too late in the day for it to be salvaged. And we hope that all hands will be on deck to salvage it. Unfortunately, Kofi, let me mention this. The social media age that we are in now tends to find most of the young people sit back and just make one comment here and there, and that's the end of it all. And the distractions are legion. So people need to speak up more and focus action. Like somebody said, this is not time to agonize.
Another one here, another message here says, let me understand it. Okay, this one is not what we're talking about. Great Sam also is complaining about the sound. I wonder what the problem is with the sound, generally, because I was hearing myself some time ago, and I don't know. Another one here. Okay, so we'll work on that. But I think we're back on now. Maybe when I talk you didn't hear me, but if it was quite clear. So thank you very much. Let's read some more messages. The great Sam says, okay, I love him here. Thank you very much. Air Force indeed, so good evening. Momta Philip Nukebari says the recruitment process into the military is now politicized. Persons that weren't ready to serve the nation are projected by politicians and godfathers. If it's that, do you agree with that? Politicization of the recruitment process?
Well, politics is getting into almost every sphere, and I think I have my own personal reservations. You find out once you have any new service chief, or once you have the president from a particular area, the tendency is that you now have service chiefs wanting to pander to the personal interest of the commander-in-chief. That is part of the reason you have things like this Air Force University, that military university, all being cited in a particular part of the country at a material time. With regard to recruitment as well, I cannot tell exactly how they go about what they do now and who passes what list to what place for approval. But it's unfortunate. The country could do more with more meritocracy. You understand? We do not need to control to the person who holds an office at a material time to determine how organizations are cited, how institutions of state are cited, or how recruitment is done. But unfortunately, it's part of our national fabric at this time.
Okay.
It's an unfortunate situation that we have. We hope that it gets better.
Okay. All right. I will just run through the messages. I really apologize. I've kept you for really long. But Abasio Turo JP says, saboteurs everywhere. Former President GJ confirmed that. Oyekachi David Dominion says it's a sign and symptoms of a failed country or state sliding into serious crisis and oblivion. Very sad indeed. Amaidu says soldiers are frustrated by the government who borrow funds to equip the army but embezzle the funds only to blame snakes, rats, monkeys and all insects for swallowing the money. Okay, another one here is sent in by Emeka Eleza, who said that on Sandra show in Lagos, a former military officer called in and talked about how he was shot by his colleagues for killing Boko Haram guys too much there in the army. ... He says, yeah, we talked about that as well. Thank you very much. Olade Abiodun says, this is very bad. There's no love inside Nigeria army again. David Etison, thank you very much. We've sorted out the sound. I think now you can hear us. We do apologize for that. Really apologize for that. Godswill Babi says, soldiers have never killed soldiers before, not till now that Boko Haram is recruited into the army in the name of repentant Boko Haram members. F.A., finally, are Boko Haram members being recruited into the army, the repentant ones, or being reintegrated into society? Which is which?
The news from the military is that they are being reintegrated into society, not into the army. Although there have been some commentary, unconfirmed, that they have been sent back into the army, but the military has said that the Operation Safe Corridor that they have, which is part of the rehabilitation and reintegration of ex-Boko Haram fighters or repentant terrorists, is not into the military but back into society.
Okay, all right. If I want to thank you very much for your time. We had one or two audio issues along the line, but most of what you said we heard, but we've sorted it out now. But a majority, a lot of what we discussed went out on air, apart from when we put up the clip. That was when the sound wasn't on. So I want to thank you very much for your time. We have a long way to go. The final question for you is the almighty question. Do you see a possible military intervention with all that is happening? Say, hey, there's country just breaking down. We're going to step in and sort things out. I mean, it will be a paradox, though, because they're the ones who are not fighting and doing the right things. But what do you think? Maybe soldiers are becoming more bold. They're becoming braver, recording videos of themselves disagreeing with their senior officers, resigning, etc., etc. Things that before you don't think the Nigerian soldiers could do. Are we sure a band of junior officers would not take things up out of anger and like Rawlings did in Ghana and stage an intervention?
Well, I don't see that happening.
Why?
Have made that very unfathomable right now. Nigeria is getting more and more complex by the day, and the socio-political realities that we have in Benin, to have that even back in the mindset of any guys in the military is a possibility, and I also expect that the backlash will be huge. Not as many Nigerians want change, and that will not be the route from which that change would have to come.
Okay.
I don't see it happening.
All right.
Realistically.
Okay. If I want to go, I want to thank you for your time. It's been more than an hour, and sincerely apologize for keeping you this long, but I want to really, really thank you for doing us the honor. Thank you very much, Efe.
Thank you for having me, Kofi. My pleasure.
Thanks, and have a wonderful night. Regards to the family.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then we are defeated.
No, we have cleared them.
1,181 soldiers and 75 officers. We cannot go into a town that has no more than 10 Boko Haram inside.
Excellency, there is no Boko Haram inside Baga town.
We remain grateful to all of you.
I mean,
I think the commitment is not there.
There's no Boko Haram inside the town.
Huh?
There is none. Just a pocket that infiltrated.
There's Boko Haram. If there's no Boko Haram, then where can we go in?
A pocket infiltrated, and we have cleared them. We have done that now. Right now, there's no. We saw their withdrawal track.
Let's go back. But the fact remains is
that I'm happy you.
No, I'm not happy. I'm never happy.
You have accepted that.
No, I'm happy. There is no Boko Haram inside the town.
No problem.
I haven't accepted.
As long as you just agree to go back, I'm sure it will be settled. You will see where they were.
I'm not going back to the town. No, and I'm not afraid.
No, it's not sure.
I can sleep if you want. I can sleep inside Baga town.
Yes, let's.
Nothing will happen to you. But the fact remains is that there is no Boko Haram inside Baga.
If you want to do that now,
if there are 10 people Boko Haram, what is there? We can clear them. 1,181 officers. We can't go inside Baga town.
I told you.
What happened?
If you give me 30 minutes, that Baga town is not the problem.
Then take over Baga.
We have taken over.
Take over Baga so that our people can go back.
We have
as long
over.
As you are in my 4. As long as you are in my form.
We're not in my form, Your Excellency. You saw where we are. We have taken over. We have.
Suleiman Kabudi. Suleiman. Bude Koma.
75 officers. And if they cannot go into Baghdad, to deal with almost 20 something. No, next time also. Not today. Next time I can't come. I saw my son here.
Kuma, I went and saw where they are not up to 5, 6. Not Boko Haram. I saw where they were sleeping. Peter was smoking. So they are bats. Excuse me.
We have about 1,200 soldiers and 75 men in Baga. I see no reason why we cannot occupy Baga. The problem is not with the chief of army staff, or the problem is not with President Buhari. The president lies here. How can we occupy Baga? That's the most important thing. We are so much committed to provide what you want to do. And I appreciate all what you are doing. Some of you hardly saw their families for the last 6 months. It's not an easy task. As far as I'm concerned, we shall do everything possible to motivate you. For this Salah, I'll send 5, 6 bulls to you. The 1 bull is for the military officers and then 6 bulls for you. We'll bring also rice.
So, Zulu, MNI, fellow, Nigerian Society of Engineers. Hep, hep, hep! Hooray! Hep, hep, hep! Hooray! Hep, hep, hep! Hooray!
La ilaha illallah. Ido da. La hawla wala quwwata. Ka bari mu da abin tukuna. La ilaha illallah.
Maybe I'm a police.
No. We did the clearance, me and the sector commander. No. We saw where they were. And there's no Boko Haram inside Baga town.
We remain grateful to all of you.
No, I mean,
the commitment is not there.
There's no Boko Haram inside the town.
Okay, this is where we find ourselves as a nation. This is where we find ourselves as a people. This is where we find ourselves as a country, where a governor cannot even move around in his state, and not far from base where there are thousands, more than 1,000 soldiers, and he's coming under fire. And you can see the explanation. The army officer was giving him, that they've cleared them now. Anyway, a lot needs to be done by the government to make sure that this whole issue, issues with the Nigerian army, is it post-traumatic stress disorder, like my guest talked about? I mean, they're doctors and they have the army medical corps. They should attend to the soldiers if they're having psychological issues. I mean, why are soldiers being sent and asked to stay there beyond their tour of duty? Issues with working conditions, service conditions, and all that, and soldiers are just dying. And then if they are saboteurs, how hard is it for them to weed out these saboteurs? Really, it's unfortunate. We have to go. I want to thank you very much for your time. That's been Late Night Talk. And for all the comments you've had online as well, I want to thank you. Please do your best to share all our posts, even after now. For all of you who are watching, thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate you. My name is Kofi. This is Late Night Talk. Tomorrow we'll have another interesting conversation, and I'll try not to take you too late into the night. But if you want to send me a message, you have a suggestion, a contribution, whatever, you can drop me a line inbox, and I'll be very glad to respond. Once again, have yourself a fantastic night, and thank you for joining us on Late Night Talk. It's really sad. Let's pray for Nigeria. We've been praying since, but what can we do? We'll continue to pray that things get better, and of course that things improve, because the army can't continue like this now. Chad. I don't think they have more soldiers than Nigeria. I don't think they have more equipment than Nigeria. So our soldiers need all the support from the military hierarchy, the government, so that they don't fall prey to themselves, either through mental issues or to saboteurs or to Boko Haram, so they can be empowered, equipped to protect us as well. Please, we are begging you. Thank you very much. My name is Kofi Bartels. It's been Late Night Talk. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time online. God bless you. Good night. For now, I'm just going to do what I usually do, which is to drink water and mind my business. And it's not drink water of Leicester City or Chelsea, or is it Burnley right now? Where does he play for? But I'm just going to drink water and mind my business, and I suggest you do the same. Good night.